Howdy friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brianna Trice, and today I'm going to be talking about the 8 limbs of yoga as talked about in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So, I'm gonna get started. I have already slightly mentioned the 8 limbs of yoga in my Raja yoga video, and then I think in my last video talking about the different branches of yoga, and now I'm going to narrow in on kind of back into Raja Yoga, into the science of yoga that Patanjali has described in the Yoga Sutras. And it's called the 8 limbs of yoga. Another word for it is Ashtanga yoga, and Ashtanga means 8 limbs. So yeah, I'm just going to talk about this real quick. You can find this information of the sutras in book 2 of the sutras, and it's Sutra 29, and it introduces the 8 limbs of yoga and then goes into detail about each limb, except Dharana and Dhyana are in the 3rd part of the book because they talk about meditation, samadhi, and stuff. But I'm going to go over them for you guys, and yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. Hope you get something out of it, and give it a thumbs up if you did. So, let's get into it. I'm going to begin by going down the list of replacing what the 8 limbs are. The 8 limbs are in a specific order, going from gross, like the physical practices, the ones you can see and physically do out in the world, to subtle, which involves just going inward to, reaching samadhi. So you start physical and you go subtle, and this is described as like the science of yoga. It's not just like one thing. It is a full, it's like, I feel like it's like a guide to living a yogi lifestyle, basically. And it's not something that you have to be Hindu or Buddhist or whatever for, and you could just, I feel like being a yogi is separate from like religion. It's just a way that you carry yourself to embody your inner divinity and show others, remind them of their true self, their inner peace and healing. So yeah, so I'm going to say that in English and in Sanskrit. So I'm going to go down the list. The first on the list is the yamas, also known as abstinence, and then the niyamas, which is observances, the asanas, which is poses, and then pranayama, which is breath control / breath regulation, and then pratyahara is sense withdrawal, and then dharana is concentration, dhyana is meditation, samadhi is super consciousness, enlightenment, nirvana, those are the 8 limbs of yoga, and each limb serves a purpose in the practice to developing, to getting to samadhi. You're cleansing all the impurities, and you're cleansing your mind, and you're strengthening your practice, and it just grows to, hopefully, you reach the goal, which is self-realization, remembering your truest self, and, getting in touch with consciousness on the physical realm. That is the goal of yoga. So, yep, I'm gonna break each limb down, and just by little detail, because the thing about Raja Yoga and the sutras is you could go on forever lectures about each part of the book, each sutra, but for the sake of the video and time, I'm just going to go down the list, briefly describe each limb and their importance in developing a yoga practice and being a yogi. So the yamas and niyamas, they consist of certain qualities a yogi needs to be able to begin to further grow the physical and subtle practices. So they're kind of like moral codes. I mean, they're pretty general. It's like universal rule for a way to live, kind of like the 10 Commandments. It's like that's something you in general want to live by, but I'm just going to go over them. So the yamas, that is abstinence. They consist of non-violence, non-stealing, truthfulness, continence, and non-greed. But non-violence, it sounds pretty, as it sounds, no, you're not causing any harm to anybody. You're not causing harm. Yeah, I don't have to repeat that. And truthfulness, always telling the truth. Like, even if it, not the sort of truth where people are like rude about it, like, because to some degree people with the intent to hurt someone else will be like, but this is the truth. It's like, no, you have just tell the truth. Like, it's as simple as that, you know. If it's something that you feel like you need to keep from someone and it doesn't feel good, that's that sort of energy that can cause blockages within you. It can keep you from your practice, and it can cause restlessness that keeps you from being able to focus on the poses and the breath, and focus on the breath and focus on meditation to reach samadhi. So like, these limbs are all ways to clear the blockages in the body that completely open you up to pure consciousness. So that's the importance of the yamas, and the niyamas are observances which they come into play too. The niyamas consists of like finding purity, cleansing the impurities of the mind, contentment, accepting pain but not giving pain, and then studying of spiritual texts is also a form of like self-surrender to God, consciousness, source, whatever you want to call the higher being that resonates with you. That is the niyamas, and that's more of, just like I said, like a mental level of life, like finding gratitude and not worrying about superficial things that hold you back, that keep you ungrounded and down from just your unfolding practice. And don't get me wrong, no practice is perfect, but with a daily commitment to this will strengthen your ability to be able to hold on to the yamas and niyamas in daily life too. So there are specific sutras in book 1 that talk about developing the practice and how you can take your practice out into the real world, but I'm making another video about that because that's like a whole other thing too. So yeah, I'm going to move on now to the asanas. The asanas is the poses is pretty simple. It is just finding steady posture, and this is a big one because like mainstream yoga is very advanced postures, trying to work out, trying to just look like an advanced yogi or whatever, but finding a steady posture means that you're not holding poses longer than what's comfortable. You're not causing disturbance in the mind, stressing about what your body's doing, how you're looking. It's literally like finding comfort in each pose. See, the yoga, the physical practice consists of both like ease and effort, and then, you know, it's a regular practice. There's a form of discipline that comes with wanting to go down this specific path, to wanting to reach your truest self with, like, you know, kind of integrating the ego into where your soul is guarding the ego and all this stuff. You know, you want to have a regular daily practice, and that takes discipline and earnestness and then effort and ease, and you don't want to push yourself in your yoga practice, because then if you hurt yourself, then that obviously will take you kind of back in some form, but, you know, you can always push past injuries anyways. So yeah, the asanas, finding steady posture, and you find this steady posture so that you can cleanse the restlessness of the mind. So when the breath comes into play, which takes us into pranayama, which is the 4th limb, breath regulation. Everyone talks about the breath, but no one talks about the breath. People talk about the breath, but don't talk about the breath at the same time. Like, how does the breath help? How is the breath the gateway to finding the awareness of the inner peace and opening up your soul, essentially bringing you into the present moment? Well, pranayama has a bunch of techniques in the practice itself that it activates the nervous system, it balances it out, it expands your lungs, and then it also brings your focus on the breath, which kind of makes you step back from your thoughts and you kind of become the observer. And pranayama in the physical practice is kind of what you do before meditation because it prepares the mind for meditation. So yeah, this is the importance of pranayama, and I actually plan on making a separate video also about the benefits of pranayama and maybe some of the techniques too. So, moving on, pratyahara, that is sense withdrawal, and it's like, what does that mean? So, just brief, the modifications of the mind stuff enter through the senses. Senses: smell, the hearing, the touch, the 5 basic senses that you learn: taste, sound, smell, sight, whatever, missing one. And pratyahara, the sense withdrawal, that brings you into a place where you can finally come to concentration, and this helps to block the distractions. Like, once you are able to withdraw from the senses, then what you hear, whatever you're smelling, whatever might be tingling on your skin, or just things like that generally on a regular basis will draw our minds away from whatever we're focusing on. We kind of shut that off. Not like your body shuts down, or not in a weird way. You are in such a centered state of being that whatever is going on in your environment isn't affecting your state of being. It's almost just a separation from wanting to identify and the ego pop up and be like, what's cooking in the kitchen? And what's that going on outside? Such a disturbance. Like, when you have sense withdrawal, nothing can really disturb you unless, in case of emergency, if something crazy happens. But yeah, and that's pratyahara. And pratyahara leads us to dharana, which is concentration. And we had a whole meditation class about this. But concentration is when you find an object, a deity, guru, a symbol of peace, harmony, uplifting. It can be an image, sound, whatever it is that makes you feel good, and you focus on that. I talked about this in my last meditation video, tips on how to meditate, and concentration is one of the limbs of yoga that comes right before meditation. So dharana and dhyana kind of flow. Dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, actually, they all flow kind of together. So yeah, I don't really have to touch too deeply on those. I feel like the main parts of the limb that get you to a spot of concentration, to meditation, to samadhi, is going through the yamas, niyamas, asanas, and pranayama and pratyahara. And those in themselves it's just, it's a daily practice too. Practicing every day. It's an ever-growing one. It never stops, really. And so dharana is concentration that leads you into meditation, dhyana. And once you're in meditation is a continuous flow of focus to that object of concentration, so that you reach a point where your mind kind of stops wandering. And again, this is after lots of practice and building up, getting used to coming to a center of focus and a grounding. And once your mind gets used to focusing on one thing, and it's a continuous focus on one thing, you reach meditation. You reach a meditative state where you almost kind of stop identifying even with the body, and you become the observer, and you observe the thoughts that pass. You don't Yeah, so my camera died, and I went and just let it charge, filed my taxes, and made tea. So now here I am. I'm back. And the last thing I remember was talking about going from concentration to meditation, dharana to dhyana, and the last two limbs, meditation to samadhi. Once you have that one focus, the continuous flow of focus on that object, whatever your point of concentration is, you you can go into and reach samadhi, and samadhi is when you kind of become devoid of form with the concentration on that point of awareness. And yeah, like that is just kind of the peak tippy top, and that's where all the magic happens. It's like, I mean, it's not like it's going to be perfect or what you might want or expect like every single time that you do it. So like I said in my meditation video, once you go into the meditation portion of your practice, try your best not to expect so much. Just go with it, breathe, be present, be aware. But I think I was going to close out this video anyway, so yeah, I went over all the limbs, and I hope that this was informative and it gave you an idea of how you can even personally better develop your full, complete yoga practice that changes your life, your mindset, your lifestyle, like it's a good foundation, honestly. I referred to the sutras a lot for questions, and just whenever I have something stuck on my mind, or just whenever I want clarity, or just a reminder of certain things that help to grow my practice, because practice is ever growing, flowing, and it's nourishing and loving, and just guides us back to ourselves. So I hope you got something out of this video about the 8 limbs. These are found in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. There are different translations. The one I have is by Sri Swami Satchidananda, and I mean, this is a pretty popular translation from what I know. So I actually have 2 translations of the book too, but probably biased to this one because it's Gurudev. But yeah, and I mean, you know, if you're not a big reader, then just keep tuning into these videos, because I'll probably break down a lot of the main concepts in the sutras in this book that is Raja Yoga. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, week, night, month, year journey, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.